You're listening to the shot glass version of this episode with Frank and Chris. To get access to the tall pint version, go to patreon.com/nerdpreneur and become a member of the
Awesome Nerdpreneur Board.
Now enjoy the episode. Do you guys have day jobs, or is this your whole gig?
This is my full-time job, and it has been since the pandemic started.
I was freelance writing. I've pared it way back because this has been doing well. So yeah, no, this is just about it.
Wow, that is. I just want to hold the phone and say that is awesome.
Keep it nerdy. Keep it real nerdy. Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put their passion first, so let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.
I am a small, independent board game designer.
I wanted to make props for D&D.
Correct. I'm a breeder of tarantulas, importing tarantulas and some other critters.
I am a harpist. I do mainly Celtic harp, video game songs, songs from nerdy TV shows.
I connected my love for close-up magic with being a scare actor.
Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work.
Welcome to Nerdpreneur, where we have fun conversations with nerds making money with their nerdy passion. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Frank.
Hello.
And today we have some very special guests on, actually. And they are two founding members of a company called Only Crits.
Yes, so my name is Eric Burton, and I'm one of the co-founders of Only Crits.
Hi, I'm Rory Hoffman, and shockingly also a co-founder of Only Crits.
And if you haven't already guessed, these guys are dice manufacturers, well, dice distributors. You've told me you're kind of like a one-stop shop for all your dice and adventure accessory needs. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I basically handle most of the dice side of things, and then Rory handles the adventure side of things. And then we thought well, let's come together and give both to the consumer and give them what they want. I think the point was for a new player to be able to get an adventure and a dice set, be able to play the game not knowing anything, and have a module to start, and then use the module and kind of build their own homebrew off of that. So it's not a full 20 level adventure. It's just a one shot to get you started.
Are you looking to introduce the game to more and more people, expand it to people that have never played D&D? Is that sort of the idea with having it focus on one shots?
Yeah, I would say yes. The idea being the easier it is to play, the easier it is to present to friends. We don't have too many filters on distributing our adventures, which ideally allows people to send adventures and be like, hey, do you want to run this one? Have you played? Can you run this one? And it going from one person sort of having to accumulate all of the stuff in order to play D&D to being able to distribute easily to a bunch of different people being able to play D&D.
I'm immediately fascinated with how the two of you brought this together. Did you two know each other already?
Yeah, we've been friends since elementary school. I think I've known Roy since I was 5.
Whoa.
So you guys go way back.
Yes, for a long time.
So could you tell me, what is your nerdy passion and how did the two of you really discover it?
Well, mine is mostly video games, I think. Rory was the one that introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, and that was right around when the pandemic started. Everyone's at home, and Rory kind of reached out to me and a few of our friends and was like, hey, I have this game, and I always wanted to play it. I played a one-shot with a few friends a couple of years ago. Didn't really know what was going on at all. I didn't have a character sheet even. I was just role-playing. So when Rory brought up the idea, hey, I can Dungeon Master, I was like, yes, please, let's get this going right away. And that was in March of 2020, so it was right at the start.
I mean, honestly, it took me 3 tries to get into D&D, partially because I was finishing up school the first time, sort of realized right near when I was about to graduate, I was like, I should be playing D&D. This sounds exactly like what I want to do, and just didn't have the time or understanding of, you don't need the whole rule book to start playing D&D, and I kind of thought you did. So I saw 350 pages, I read the first 20, and I was like, I'm going to leave this for the moment.
When did the decision to start selling dice come into the equation for you two?
Dice would be something it's a game I love, right? And this is just when I was getting started. So a few months in, it's a game I love. I have so much passion for it, and I'm doing business, which I also love doing. So it's not like I'm, running a business that I don't want to be running, or I want to be running it but just for the money, or like there's only half a passion there. Whereas this was like when that idea first came to me in September. It was September 9th. It was the day I had the idea, 2020. And I just remember it kind of exploding in my mind and being like, man, I could sell dice. With Rory, he could make adventures and it would be perfect. And I was just sitting there kind of like, and it just came out of nowhere. I just realized it was like, wow, like it's the best of both worlds. I have such a high passion for this, and I can do what I love in terms of work, combine them together, right? And then you get to have your cake and eat it too. That's when the idea sparked. So I called Rory like instantly that day, and we talked for 2 hours about the first adventure, how we were going to make it work, like when the launch date was going to be, and all these details, and just it's such a weird feeling because it wasn't like I was thinking about it for like weeks on end. Like, should I do it? Should I? It just came out of nowhere one day, and the next day I was started, and I just started working on it, started designing the website, and a month later we launched with one adventure.
I'm curious, like when you guys got that idea and you started immediately on it, have you always been like an action taker like that, where you get an idea and you start on it? Or was this because you were so passionate and you were aligned in your passions that you all of a sudden took action?
There's only so much willpower you can have to do something you don't want to do. And so I can do something for a week, even if I don't really want to do it, but I think it's good for me. So when you start, you're kind of all hyped up on this willpower and you're ready to go. And then after a week, that's really when the test starts, is to see if you can stay consistent. I think that because of the passion, I was able to stay consistent over the last 2 years or year and a half. Generally, though, I think I really like to get after it immediately. And then I just slowly teeter off in terms of willpower. And then that's when, yeah, like I said, the passion kind of holds you up and lets you continue because, you're not doing something you don't like.
With the adventures that you started, so Rory, you were building these homebrew adventures for a while, because I'm on your website right now and you guys have a bunch of homebrew adventures here available for purchase. How did you start making these is really what I'm getting at.
For that first session that I ran The Lost Minds of Phandelver? I don't know if I ever said that
Fandelver,
loud.
yeah.
Phandelver, yeah. Um, and then pretty much since then, I've homebrewed adventures, for better or worse, but I didn't actually start writing them down until October of 2020 when we got the business going. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're trying, like, it's been a conscious effort to try to fill out our library of adventures because we don't
Right.
want to have a nice variety of adventures to choose from.
Where do you get your ideas from, or where do you get inspiration to create an adventure?
I mean, it's tough because inspiration it's one of those things that's always creatively the question mark. And of course, there's not a single source of inspiration. I wish there was somewhere I could just go and get inspiration, but it's a myriad of things. I do my best to be consciously reading a lot of fantasy because inspiration comes from there pretty often, and watching other D&D campaigns and whatnot. I can't remember the quote. There's something about if you're writing same thing in a different style, it's plagiarism. But if you're taking from a bunch of different sources and putting it into your work, then it's
Right.
not. There's a lot of that going on where I have an idea from a book, and I can't, obviously I'm not going to write out just the plot line of the book, but I love taking a small part and then figuring out how that small part can turn into something more than it just was.
There's a podcast I'm listening to, and they totally reference a part from The Rock. They're trying to get onto this island that's a supermax, and the DM starts explaining that there's actually a furnace system that'll dump the trash into the ocean after it's been put through the furnace. And the players are like, "You're talking like The Rock," and he's like, "Wait, what? Like The Rock? Like, oh my god, it totally is." Sometimes it's a subconscious
Yeah.
inspiration. He's like, that was not intentional, but I came up with exactly that movie.
And I mean, some of the stuff is like that is cool. Being subconsciously inspired by The
Yeah.
Rock is cool. One of our adventures, the one called A Foul Endeavor, is I don't know if I should be ashamed to say this, but it's almost entirely based off that thing. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
That sounds funny.
Yeah, I mean that was I
Awesome.
was like it's D&D. I bet I can build a duck-sized horse and turn it into something bigger.
I want to keep that duck. That would be a great mount.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what are some of these things you do consistently or that you needed to do consistently to really build?
Yeah. No, totally. So you want to, for me personally, like I always make sure I check my email and like go through the orders every day, no matter what. Even if that's like the only thing I'm doing that day, I always try and do at least that. And the reason is because you want to have some framework or keep it on your mind, right? Like keep it like in the front. You're not forgetting about the things you have to do that are important. And a part of that is stress in a way, right? Like a part
Mhm.
of it's like, hey, I've got a thing I need to take care of. But stress can be good if you get it behind you and you get it pushing you forward to your goals, right? Put my stress behind me instead of in front of me. So it's not holding me back, it's pushing me forward.
So checking the orders on a day-to-day basis, definitely something that you're doing to even keep that mind on top of it. What about for you, Rory, with like the adventures? Are there like daily things you do to keep yourself motivated in writing or to create these things or for the business that way?
Yeah, so consistency is hard with writing because there are absolutely days where I want to write and there's nothing in my head. But having distinct goals has been key, and that's something that I have struggled to do myself. And it's like you were talking about having a partner. Absolutely, knowing Eric needs an adventure at the end of the month to send on a product page has been great because it's okay if I don't write for a day. It's not okay if I don't write for a month or a month and a half. And that not being a question, it being a necessity that I write something by the end of the month has been huge. The other thing I found is just when we were starting out and we wanted to sell adventures and dice, and I was in charge of the adventures, and we had one, was daunting. So the only thing that I've found to stop it being daunting is doing it consistently. Like you're never going to sit down and write 12 adventures or a 20 level campaign in
Right.
a week or a month even. Like that will never happen. So the only thing that stops it being terrifying is doing it consistently. And for me consistently has been a month, and that's been fine.
I wanted to ask about the dice making process a little. We don't need to get into the weeds too much. But I don't know a lot about it, and I'm curious primarily what your process is for creating them and where they are made.
Yeah, for sure. No, so we work with suppliers overseas. I basically reach out to agents and suppliers overseas in China, and I found two really good ones in September and October. And it's the same two suppliers that we've been working with to this day. So one of the suppliers is all the sharp edge dice, all the sharp edge sets that you see on the site. They do that side of things. And then all the other dice are done by the other supplier. And so we've been working with them in a kind of close knit system and talking every day about new orders and what's out of stock, what needs to be done. But in terms of the manufacturing, that isn't an area of expertise I have, so I do need assistance for that process. I would love to be amazing at everything, but unfortunately, I can't be.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah, so that is one area where yeah, we basically outsource that, and we have a team that does that for us, and they've been really good to us, worked with us since the beginning, got us set up with the amazing dice bags we have.
One of the things I really like about your product too is the way it comes. Just like you have this lovely box that you open and it says only crits on the top there. And it's just like, it's a very nice setup when you receive them. Even the one, because I've now got a number of your dice sets. I have the ones that are the hollow dice sets because I remember when you guys only had the plastic ones. Like you only had polymers at first, I think. And then you then
Yeah,
had metal ones. And then you started to expand beyond that. Now you have hollow dice with like little dragons in them that are awesome.
and stone
There's
ones too.
stone dice. I had to get the stone dice too. I just
Wow.
yeah, they're awesome. So there's so much expansion that has happened along the way now. How do you decide on like adding new products? And are there new products on the way that we can look forward to?
Yes, we are planning to add new products, definitely. The products are kind of like a slow roll in all the time. And how do you decide? I mean, that's difficult, right? Like I've always tried to find just beautiful sets, and there hasn't been like a specific like, oh, it has to be metal or it has to be hollow or anything like because we've sold all different sorts of stuff. I do like for them to be high quality That's one of like the main thing is so it's definitely customer satisfaction, right? And like so getting feedback. Like I've taken stuff off the store before after realizing like this isn't a good product or getting too much negative feedback because you learn from your mistakes basically, right?
Right.
Like
Hmm.
it's got to be a high quality product and it's got to look good. And this is something I learned is that if it's nice for me, it might not be nice for someone else and vice versa. So I've
Mhm.
held off putting things in the store because I didn't really like the look of or the designs or the style. And then like people love them, right? And it's
Yeah,
like whose ice cream flavors is the best? One of those things.
totally.
Is that like the ducky dice? Because I saw the ducky dice and I was like, that's such a unique sort of dice to put on there.
Ev-
And is that one you loved, or was that kind of like, oh man, the fans just
Everyone
totally
loves
want
that one. No one doesn't like that dice. No one. I've
Yeah.
never heard a bad thing about that one.
It's perfect. It goes with the duck adventure too.
That was the point, actually. Yeah. So if you buy that set, that adventure comes for free, included
Oh,
with it. Because that's one of our best sellers. People always love that set. So we're like, oh, let's give an adventure with it.
Yeah, I think that's really a neat idea that you guys are doing that. Adventures and dice together and then they overlap with the theme. I really like that. Okay, so disclaimer, I am not I'm not a dice goblin. I have my like 6 sets of dice and I'm pretty happy. I mean, granted, I will see beautiful dice and go like I'll drool a little bit and then I'll just be like, "Okay, well that's nice." But I do see what you guys make and think like, "Wow, an adventure with it?" Ooh, that might be the extra little incentive I needed to actually buy these dice that I already thought were really cool.
What are some advice if someone else wanted to get started in a D&D business? Like, what advice would you give them just starting out?
That's a hard question. Roy, what do you think?
I would say keep in mind, above all else, that this is a hobby for fun. I think it's really easy to get caught up in the weeds of D&D rules. The D&D community can sometimes be overwhelming. Just the breadth of professional DMs and players that now exist online, and that is great. It's excellent on the whole for the hobby, but it doesn't change the fact D&D is a hobby for fun. So if you're going to try to make money off of that, it doesn't have to be this big professional perfect business. It's just something that lets people have more fun or fun easier. Obviously that's not really business advice.
That's great advice,
It
actually.
is.
I would
Yeah.
just say, like, I'm like so glad that that came out because how easy is it to get? Because you are fostering people having fun. That is what this game does. And if you're not in alignment with that, it's going to be very hard to be successful in this market. I think that's really smart advice.
I think leading off of that, like one thing we also stress since the start is not making everything like perfect, hiding or like not swearing or using curse language. Like we try to be reserved, but we also like to have fun and poke with our emails, our blog posts, and some of our texts. Like we're people too.
Fucking right.
The
There you go.
Man, I was wondering if you two could go into a little bit of the nitty gritty of marketing because how people get started in a business is they got to get clients. And I'm curious for you guys getting started, like, because you said I go check the emails every day for orders and stuff. I'm curious, how does that actually happen?
So the biggest thing for us, and kind of what my most amount of experience and knowledge was marketing, and that's was specifically on Facebook and Instagram, and running ads on there, and that would be videos and photos, kind of, and having them promoted through Facebook and Instagram to get more eyes on them. And then branching out from there, reaching out to influencers on Instagram. When I got started, that was a big thing I did when I reached out to Chris, and I think in October, and 50 other people just like you. I think one of the biggest things when you're starting a business is you need to be okay with not getting responded to because it's not going to happen 100% of the time. It's more likely going to happen 5 to 10% of the time. So when I want to do a big kind of reach out to influencers, I'm going to reach out to a lot of them. And the ones that respond, I'm going to like hold on to. I'm so happy, right? It's hard when you're starting. You have no followers, you have nothing, you don't have anything to show for yourself. So why would someone want to work with you, talk to you, promote your products? You really have to reach out to a lot of people. And then the ones that do respond, you have to treat well and you have to be respectful and you have to be professional. Your emails need to be very, very well done. And then from there, after Instagram, recently we've branched to YouTube. So we have been working with a YouTuber named Bob World Builder recently. And he has amazing, funny, down to earth style of YouTube video. And I just love
He's
them.
great.
He's
Yeah.
great.
I watched Bob the Builder.
So
Yeah.
good.
Can we just
So
say what his name is again? Bob the what?
Bob World Builder. So yeah, reaching out to YouTubers, and then creating a brand of your own. So that would be more Rory's style of work.
Yeah, when you guys have a fairly distinct brand from the logo all the way through like the visuals and stuff you do, like what are some of the things you did to decide on that branding, and maybe tell us a little bit more about what is your brand if you had to define it.
And I mean, it's hard to define a brand because especially, 2 years in is both a long time and a short time where it's like, and it's hard to sum up a brand without being able to see our images and our covers. But to that end, in terms of like the process we went through to build some of those things is almost from the inside. It's not disappointing, but it's a lot more practical than I thought branding was before we got into this. Right down to the URL. Like we had to get the URL for the website that we were going to sell our dice on, and that was a process of like, well, you have to buy the name, and names are different prices for websites. So we're not just going to buy dice.com even if it was available because it was going to be expensive. And so it's a trade-off between, oh, we think this is going to be memorable, unique, affordable, and that for the first little bit sort of carried through. I mean, Eric like designed our logo because he could, and because part of it was to keep it simple so that we would be remembered when people saw the logo. We're slowly and doing our best to build that out. I mean, we're really looking now to start to find artists that we can work with consistently and branch out so that it's not just the two of us doing everything. But I mean, it's an insubstantial thing to grab a hold of is brand. So it honestly means a lot just to hear you say that we do have a brand and you can see it, because it's like, oh, thank God, it all came together.
I think that Only Crits is fundamentally like a minimalistic dice company. From the website design, layout to the color scheme, I tried to keep everything very minimalistic. And a part of that is to stand out. Like a lot of other websites are quite busy. So I tried to make things simple in terms of the interface. So when you come to the site, you know what's going on. It's right there, and you can choose whatever you want. But it's not like you've got 50 different options. So one of them is just minimalism, and then the next thing is quality, keeping things very high quality. So you kind of have the aspect of very professional brand, but then kind of on the back end, once you dig in a little deeper, then we're goofy and we have these silly adventures, and we send out emails that are quite funny. So kind of once you get into the rabbit hole a bit more, it develops. But on the front side, it is very minimalistic and professional. One other thing that's really important, I think that a lot of people forget when you're making a brand, is colors. You really want to stick to a color. And once you find it, whatever works, stick to it. For new business owners, it's not something very, very known or talked about. We picked purple, and it's been great. So we use white, black, and purple, and that's it. Very simple.
I love purple. I love using that as a royal kind of pop color.
And I'll just say that while we've talked to a number of other people who have their own nerdpreneur businesses, this color thing has been a common theme. I think about, Melagie, who was the harpist doing Celtic and video game music. She's got a very distinctive, like, pink style to her vibe. And, you guys have the purple. And I know, like, when we were talking to Zephyr Games, they have a lot of ideas around colors for their board game that they were deciding on. And so I just think it's not something to take for granted that consistency with that stuff really makes a difference in keeping you recognizable. It's part of a brand that you have to be recognizable. And that visual aspect, especially on a medium like Facebook or Instagram where you're placing ads, it has to be recognizable.
Especially when it's so busy, like you want it to pop up for like a millisecond and instantly know what it is. Like a lot of YouTubers will have the same style of thumbnail for that exact reason.
Do you design all your own Instagram ads, for example, like the ones that come up on the stories and things? Do you design all those?
Yep. Pretty much all of it. Especially when we got started and the budget was very small. So like me designing the logo, like I I don't know a lot of Photoshop, but I know enough to make that. Um, and that helps with the simplicity because I don't have to do something super complex as well. So it works hand in hand.
Right.
Yeah.
And then for the ads and kind of getting photos and videos, part of it's been me filming and taking photos. And then we've also worked with a bunch of awesome people throughout Vancouver, people that I know and people that I've hired as well. We have so many great photos and videos now with our dice bags, and then we use those to run ads.
So you would like hire, say, for example, a videographer to or a professional photographer to take shots of your dice or products, and then would you put it all together into an ad, or is that something that
I would put it together into an ad. That's correct.
I was just gonna say, like, I was gonna ask, what program are you using to design those ads?
Yeah, so for the video ads, I use a program called Animoto. And that's a simple drag and drop video files, photo files, and then a little bit of text. So it's really easy to use. It's nothing crazy like Premiere. Like you need to kind of have some understanding in Premiere to use it. Whereas this like drag and drop, very simple. And that's all I need as long as the shots are good, right? The most important thing is the photos of the dice.
What I love about what you're saying is that it doesn't have to be perfect for it to get started. I've heard this before, but scrappy is the new perfect. You know, like it just needs to be done and get moving, and then you can adjust as you kind of move out there and, as you said, make mistakes and grow and
Yeah,
learn from.
perfection is
Yeah.
the enemy of productivity. Do you guys have day jobs, or is this your whole gig?
This is my full-time job, and it has been since the pandemic started.
Same for you, Rory?
I was freelance writing. I still kind of am, but I've pared it way back because this has been doing well. So yeah, no, this is just about it.
Wow, that is I just wanna, like, hold the phone and say, "That is awesome. That is crazy." I mean, you guys are 2 almost you're almost on your 2-year anniversary here, and
Almost.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that is just you guys are, making a living. I mean, one of you's in Vancouver, British Columbia. That ain't cheap,
Yeah.
and you're making it work.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, guys, because that's like awesome to see. And that's like I don't think we've met anyone that we've talked to yet that hasn't been like doing what they're doing passionately full time, and it's paying the bills and hopefully more, right? Like that's what's so awesome about the idea of following your passion, going after this and creating a nerdpreneur business.
And you guys are only at 2 years.
It's certainly a little bit of imposter syndrome. I mean, it's not like
Right.
it's nothing crazy, but um, it's weird.
No, I hear you, man. I mean, I think the imposter syndrome is everyone deals with that. I mean, there's a little bit of that we hear all over the place, and I mean, I'll admit I even feel that way, even in my day job. You know,
When you tell people what you do, are they like shocked and surprised? They'll be like, "Wait, you sell dice? Like what? Or maybe write adventures?" Is it hard to explain that to people?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a fun party trick that my girlfriend will be like, "Hey, Roy, tell them what you do." And at first it was like, "Oh, I'm a writer," and they're like, "Cool. What do you write?" And I was like, "Write tabletop role playing games." I mean, now I've stopped prefacing it with "I'm a writer" because that doesn't really get me anywhere. But no, it is weird. And some people, more than once, people have been like, "No way, we've been trying to get into D&D. Are you also a DM? Like, can you teach us?" Sometimes people are like, "That's weird. I've never heard of that." But it people are always pretty stoked that it's like, yeah, you're actually doing something that you're passionate about, which is crazy.
I want to know, what was the day like you quit your job?
It was really great. Yeah, I loved it. I remember I was managing at a restaurant, and this was during the pandemic,
Ugh.
so it was kind of like the perfect time to quit
Yeah.
because a lot of people couldn't come into work.
Hmm.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm leaving because I have something better to do, but we're like, hey, here's a great reason for me to leave because the pandemic's picking up, and you guys don't really need me here right now because restaurants aren't open. So I kind of like just slowly slid out, and then they called me like I guess a few weeks later, and they were like, Eric, we're ready for you to come back to work now. And I was like,
Whoa.
oh, I don't know about that because my business is working.
The taste of
and-
sweet freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, yeah, I remember, though, walking in there that day and being like, "Okay, so how can I get out of here, but without making any enemies?" Just being very polite.
Yeah.
You don't wanna leave and make bad blood, ever. But, yeah, it was amazing, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's do the random roll, because I know we have a dice company here, and you guys have dice to roll. We've got to make sure we get some rolls in here today.
All right. This is what we kind of call our random rolls, our D100 roll. So questions that we're going to ask are going to be associated with the number that you roll. And these are less serious, bit more fun. So we did a bunch of business talk and, branding and whatnot. Now we're going to switch things over. So, Rory, you look like you're ready. Would you mind just rolling that D100? We'll do this a couple times for each of you, but we'll just start off with Rory right now.
Can I
Awesome.
say before we get going, we're actually now officially selling D100s?
Whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah, you can't see it, but it's a ball with 100 numbers on it.
So no more two
Looks like a
D10s,
fist.
okay?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
get to have one D100.
D10s are so
Exactly.
confusing.
Yeah, we might roll for a while, so give it a minute.
That's all right.
We got 89.
Oh, this is a great one. What makes a great friendship stronger?
Oh. I would say communication, more than a necessary communication. If you're reaching out to a friend because you haven't talked in a while, that's nice. But when you're reaching out to a friend because you got something you want them to see or hear, then that makes it stronger.
That's really great, given that the two of you have been friends before entering in on this business. That's quite
That was synchronous. Like that was a new question we added in
Yeah.
last week or 2 weeks ago, and I was like,
Yeah.
trust me, it's gonna be great. But it came up. That's awesome.
Good.
Perfect.
Nice. All right, Eric, go ahead.
All right, let's get it going. Here we go. So, I have, 2.
You get to draft one mythical player for your football team.
A mythical player for my football team.
So it could be any like DC, Marvel, whatever, or anything.
How about Darth Vader?
Yeah, that would be great. Imagine Darth Vader. Wow, well, tell me why. Why Darth Vader for you?
He could use this to just pick everyone on the enemy team up, then I kick the ball and run it to the other side.
And if the refs complain,
You would have to kill them.
I mean, yeah, like no one's gonna stop Darth Vader. It's like throat choke you or something.
Yeah, force choke you to death, and that'll be it.
Yeah, his lightsaber skills alone will make him a great defensive lineman.
Honestly, I mean, he could just be a great blocker for like a Tom Brady or something, because he could probably hold back the entire line, or everyone would be too scared to cross the line.
That's what I was thinking as well.
I'm just surprised you put Tom Brady and Darth Vader on the same team. You were choosing potentially mythical sci-fi heroes and characters, and Tom Brady. I mean, I live in Seattle, okay? But Tom Brady.
He's practically a superhero. I'm just saying.
Are you saying he's a Jedi?
Don't you dare.
I don't know. I mean, he could be a Sith Lord. We don't know. I mean, he is vegan, so.
I didn't even know that.
Imagine how good Darth Vader would be at throwing the ball. You just throw it all the way to the end every time. No issues.
Darth Vader versus Tom Brady, I'd watch that though.
I wouldn't pay HBO for the subscription. Well, thank you for entertaining us. Well, let's move on to rapid fire. Okay, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Between Star Wars and Star Trek, I would pick personally Star Wars.
All right.
That's okay.
It's fine.
You want me to leave now?
No, it's okay. I mean, we've got to have a good balance in this Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little bit of variety.
The two. Same for you, Rory? Star Trek or Star Wars?
Both.
What? Both.
They're different things. It's actually funny. I got a relevant story for this.
Sweet.
Really to draw out this quick question. We had Fan Expo in Vancouver recently, and I very fortunately got to see William Shatner speak, which was he's a little rambly now, but still very inspiring guy.
Yep.
Yeah. And Canadian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. And someone asked him, "Would you support a Star Wars and Star Trek crossover?" And he was like, "Star Wars is fantasy. It's in space, but it's just a mythological tale. Star Trek is trying to be based off of technology. It's stories about humans." And I was like, "That's actually it's pretty right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I like both of those things, so why can I say anything other than both? They're both great.
Who shot first, Han or Greedo?
Han. I think it's a false memory of watching an original cut of Star Wars when I was like crazy young on a VHS that we then lost, which might be wrong, but no, I gotta say Han.
Goblins or kobolds?
Ooh, that's fun. I have used kobolds more in my games, but to be fair, I don't think I've fully comprehended the usefulness of goblins until a little more recently. And kobolds, some of them can fly, and that's really fun. I often have kobolds tied to people on the ground, which has been an avenue for hilarity.
3 favorite pizza toppings?
Olives, onions, bacon.
We haven't had any of those on here yet.
Really?
No.
Yep.
That's great.
It's been a lot of pineapple pizza people.
I do like pineapple on pizza, but top 3? No, it's down the list somewhere.
Okay. Eric, favorite, or sorry, maybe not your favorite, but your go-to karaoke song.
Oh, man. Okay, Rory, you go ahead. I need some time to think.
I love the
one that
pass of the buck there. It's like, you take this one.
I don't do karaoke all that much.
Well, especially nowadays.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's a lost art from pre-COVID times.
So the key, I believe, is to get one that everyone inevitably ends up singing along to, which I think for me would be Bohemian Rhapsody. I
Classic.
feel like everyone's got to sing along to that one.
Yeah,
So get the crowd in on it.
Going off of that, I think mine, and I saw a good friend once, would be Brown Eyed Girl.
Ooh, another classic karaoke tune. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm surprised. No, I always feel like It's Getting Hot in Here is going to be the top of the list for people. Everyone knows that song. They can sing along to it.
Oh, yeah, but nobody wants karaoke people to take off all their clothes. I'm just not gonna lie. I used to go to karaoke in Ottawa, and if you're a regular there, keep them on.
Nah, don't need that. Okay, gotcha.
All right, how many cats are too many cats?
3.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, thank you so much, guys. This has been so awesome. And where can people find you, support you, and buy some adventures and dice from you?
Yeah, so you can find us at onlycrits.com. And you can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Those are our social media outlets at onlycritsco on Instagram, onlycrits on Twitter, and Facebook if you search that.
Also TikTok now.
And also TikTok that Rory's been getting into, yeah. We're officially on TikTok. And use code EPIC for 12% off your next dice set at onlycrits.com.
Awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
Anything else we got? Any final words from you, Frank? Or, I mean, we are still figuring out our sign off. What should we do to sign off? Keep it nerdy?
If there is one final takeaway.
Yeah, follow your passion.
And be optimistic.
And thank you so much for having us on. That was amazing.
Seriously, thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
It was great.
You just finished the shot glass version of this episode with Frank and Chris. If you want to hear the tall pint version, become a member of our awesome Nerdpreneur board. Board members get access to all extended versions of our episodes and access to our AMA advice show where Chris and I answer your burning hot questions. Go to patreon.com/nerdpreneur to become a member of the awesome Nerdpreneur board. For just $10 a month, we'll infect your brain with great ideas. Thanks for listening, and as always, keep it nerdy.